Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to cut and sew this beautiful Ankara dress with an Asoke center panel. So guys, let's get started. So right now, I've gone ahead to fold my fabric by 4 and I make sure I added 2 inches allowance to the back for the zip area, okay? So I'll be marking out my starting point. I always do that because I don't like to use this part of the fabric, like the base of this fabric. And then I'll mark out my bust point, and then my waist point, and then my hip point, 8.5, and then my full length of the dress, which is 36 inches, and then I'll go ahead and add extra 2 inches allowance for my joining. Okay, so right now I'll connect all my lines to the points where I measured. So I've gone ahead to do that. The next thing now is to start taking our measurements from those lines that we connected together. And then it's our shoulder point. My shoulder divided by 2. I'll mark it out. And I'll come down by 1 inches for my shoulder slope, right? And then my armhole measurements. It is usually your bust divided by 6 inches plus 1.5 inches. That will give you the depth of your armhole, okay? So I'll draw out my lines to connect them together to my chest line. So I'll be using 4 inches for my width measurement, my neck width rather. Then I'll connect that line to my shoulder to give me my slope, right? Then I'll go in by 3.5. That is my midpoint, and then I'll go in by half of an inch inward. Then I'll connect my lines together to meet the points. Okay, you can go ahead and just use your free hand to connect these lines together if you don't have a curve rule. So remember I made my neck width 4 inches, right? So now I'll make my front neck depth to be 3 inches, okay? And then for the back I'll make it 1.5 inches, right? And then I'll connect the lines together. So the next thing is to take out our full body measurements. I'll start from my bust area. I'll divide my bust by 4, and what I get, I'll add 2 inches extra to it, and then I'll mark it out. Okay, but I will always advise that since this kind of dress is not a bustier kind of dress, I would advise we add extra 2 to 3 inches allowance to give your bust this freedom when you wear the dress. If not, you end up realizing that when you're done turning your fabric with the lining, you run short of some allowances. Okay, so I'll divide my waist by 4, and then what I get, I'll add 2 inches to it. Initially, when I was taking out the measurements, I added 1.5 inches allowance. So, and I realized I going to be using a lining. I remembered I was going to be using the lining to turn it on every side. So I went back and started adding 2 inches allowance to the measurements. So I'll take out my hip measurement, divide by 4, and what I get, I'll add 2 inches to it first before adding extra 4 inches. Remember, this dress is having an exaggerated hip, alright? So I'll place what I have on my hip to the full length of my dress. Okay, so remember, I took out my hip measurement, added 2 inches allowance, and then I added extra 4 inches allowance because it is an exaggerated hip dress. Alright, then I'll link my chalk together to every point I've marked out, and this is what I'm doing, as you can see. So the next thing I'll do now, guys, is to mark out 2.5 inches from my front neckline and mark it down to the length of my dress. So when I'm done with that, I will go ahead and connect my lines using my ruler from the neck point to the down part of my dress. The reason why I'm taking this 2.5 inches is for our panel. That is where we are going to be attaching the Asoke to our dress. And then the next thing is to go in by 1 inches for my back area, we left 2 inches for the zip allowance, alright? So for me to snatch the back and to stop it from bulging, I went out by 1 inches, and then I'll from the waist region, then I'll connect it downwards and do the same thing. I'll connect the line upward as you see me doing. So this is me. I'm trying to confirm the back depth of my dress, right? I told you we went in with 1.5 inches, so I was making sure that I connect the right lines to meet the width, and I've done that already. Okay, so the next thing now is for us to go ahead and cut out the dress. Every area that we've marked, we're going to cut it out, right? So guys, if you're still watching till now, please click on the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell so you get notified whenever I drop any tutorials. Okay, thank you guys. I'll be cutting the front um I'll be cutting the front armhole separate from the back, okay? Because the front armhole is always deeper than the back area, because the back is bigger than the front, is always wider. I don't know if you understand me. So that is why I separated it and trimmed it out, right? Right now, we're done cutting out the dress, the front and the back. So the next thing to do is to go ahead and cut out our lining for the front and the back piece of our clothes. Okay. So right now I'm done cutting out the lining, and this is what it looks like. Okay. And I took away 1.5 inches from the down part of my lining, so which makes my lining not to be equal with my fabric. Okay, so I'll go ahead and turn that to my machine, and I'll come back and show you guys what it looks like. All right. So I'm done turning the lining. Okay, and this is what it looks like. This is my back piece. Okay, this is where I'm going to be attaching my zipper. Yeah, this is the zipper allowance. I make sure I turn everything out neatly, and this is the base of my clothes. I don't know if you can see it very well. So I turn the neck of my clothes like this, as you can see, but I did not turn this middle part because that is where I'll be fixing the ashoke. All right, I only turn out the neck, the little bit of side of the neck, but I didn't turn the middle part. All right. So the next thing to do now is to measure from the neck area to the length of the dress. This is to know how much ashoke we are going to be needing to place on this panel. All right, so I would like my opening to start at 17 inches. Okay, so from that point we have 32 inches right now, but I'll be cutting out like 35 inches from the ashoke so that I'll not run short of it when I'm fixing it. Okay, so now I've gone ahead to cut out my ashoke, the length. Okay, so I told it was 35 inches long, right? So that 35 inches, I made sure I made it by 2. Just watch what I'm doing. And then I went ahead to give it a good press. And then this is the reason is because I want it to have a good line so that I can connect the midpoint to the other part of it. All right, so right now I will cut out the middle. I made it by 2, so I'll cut out from the middle. Okay, so right now I'm separating it to make it 2 equal parts. All right, so what I'll be doing now, just watch what I'm doing. The reason why I ironed it equally is because I want to have the middle point of my ashoke. Okay, So we measured 17 inches for our opening. So right now I'll be marking out the 17 inches. Alright, so that is where I will run a stitch from the top to the 17 inches point, and then my opening can continue from that area. Okay, and if I turn it over, this is what it will look like, right? So now when I go to my sewing machine, I'll fold in this neck area a little bit inside to make my Asoke not to be coming out. So that is what I'll do. So guys, this is what we have right now after attaching our Asoke to the front piece of our dress. Okay, so I will be trim. As you can see, there's excesses on the down part of the area. This is safer than for us to run short of it, so I'll be trimming it out and fold it neatly to make it equal with the dress. Okay, so the next thing is to um fix the zipper of my back part. Okay, so afterwards I'll go ahead and shape my dress. All right. So guys, I've gone ahead to fix my zipper and I've shaped the dress, and this is what it looks like. It came out very pretty. Okay, please pardon me, I forgot to hit on the record button when I was cutting my sleeve, but what I did was to cut the length I wanted, and then I made sure my Asoke was also the length I wanted, and then I went ahead to just attach it on the sleeve, and then I turned it over with my lining, and this is how neat it came out. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any question, please drop it on the comment section and I'll attend to it in due time. Okay, thank you very much for watching to this point. I really appreciate. Do well to share this video to as many that will want to make this dress, and hit on the subscribe button. Thank you guys. See you in my next video.